In this lesson, we'll start building out the main user interface for the iMusic project. I've done a little cleanup to the project and made a few changes so you can find an updated version of the project in your working files directory. The key change that I've made is I've renamed the Preferences View Controller to About View Controller. After thinking about it a little bit more, I realized the application probably doesn't need an explicit preferences management screen, so instead we'll use this for an About dialog. So we now have an About View Controller, both H and M, and an About View nib. Just to refresh your memory, I'll run the application so we can recall where we were at when we left off. So we have a Show List button that's currently logging a message, a Preferences button that can be open and closed, but we can see we still have a little bit of cleanup we need to do. Let's start with the About view. Let me close the console area. And right off the bat, we can see that we have the wrong title. So let's call this iMusic. And as long as we're in here, we'll take care of this UI as well. So I'll open the Utilities section. I'm going to add two labels. So I'll drag two labels onto the screen. The first one I will give the title About iMusic. And let me look at its attributes. I'll click the T to open up the font panel. And let's give this a fairly large font size. I'll make this 36 points. Click Done. We can see because we have the auto shrink checkbox selected, it didn't increase that size because it kind of puts a constraint on it. So let me uncheck this. And now we can see we have a large font size. I can manually resize this label, but a really convenient way of doing that is to go up to the Editor menu and select Size to Fit Content. So that will automatically size it to the appropriate size for me. We'll just drag that into the center of the screen. And let's give this a slight drop shadow as well. Currently the shadow color is set to a clear color, but I'm going to change that to a light gray color. And I'll give it a horizontal shadow offset of 2 and a vertical offset of 2 as well. That looks pretty good. The second label, I will give this the title of Created by Bob McCune. And put your name in there, of course. Because I'd like to have this aligned a little better, I'm going to go to the Size Inspector, and I'll select this drop-down and select Center Horizontally in Container. So that'll put that perfectly in the center. I'll do the same thing with this just to make sure this is quite right. All right, so that looks good. Let's go to our main view. And I will size this a little bit. Let's rename this to About iMusic. Let's just run it quick to make sure everything's still working like we expect. So the title's now correct. And our About box looks good. All right, so I'll click Done. Let's resize these buttons a bit. First, I'll rename Show List to View List. And I will go to the Size Inspector. Let's make these buttons a little bit wider. Make these 184 and a little bit taller. Make them 45 points tall. And I'll arrange this horizontally as well. Let's do the same with the About iMusic button. Now this, I can kind of use the top one as a guide. And I'll make that one 45 points tall as well. So it looks pretty good. Kind of oversized buttons for the screen. All right, and the one last thing we need to add is at the top of the screen, we'd like to have a logo. And the component we can use to display an image is called a UI image view. So down here, I will search for image. And here's my image view. And we'll drag and drop one of these into view. And I'm going to size this at 35 and 75. And I know this image size, so I'll type in 250 for the width and 63 for the height. Maybe just position this down just a little lower. All right, that looks good. I'll type Command R to run the app again. Now we haven't set an image on our UI image view, so it's just showing up as blank, which is perfectly fine. That's actually expected. But our buttons look good. They still seem to function like they should. So everything looks pretty good. The UI is still pretty bare bones, but this is a good foundation for moving forward with the next steps. In the next few lessons, we'll look at what we can do to add some additional polish to the UI.